Okay, it looks like we're at over 100 participants, and I'm sure more will keep joining, but we have a lot to cover, so we want to jump into things. Welcome, everyone. I'm Cami Thompson, the Director of Finance at RE-volv, and I'm so glad that you could join us for today's session, Last Call for Solar Tax Credits. We have amazing panelists today that will be sharing their expertise with us. You can go to the next slide so you can see all of their faces. First, we'll have Alec Ward from SEIA giving us all of the policy updates we need to know. And then we'll hear from Sean Malone of Solar United Neighbors on what this all means for residential solar. And then Anna Adamsson from Clean Energy Group will share how solar access can drive equity and resilience at the community level. After that, my colleague Marques will explain RE-volv's nonprofit solar financing model and a timeline for accessing the tax credit. And finally, we'll close with Travis Landry from WestCare, Wisconsin, one of our solar customers sharing his success story. We'll save time for audience Q&A at the end, so please feel free to drop questions in the Q&A piece of the chat and flag if there's a specific speaker you want to answer that. Additionally, this is being recorded and will be sent out to all that registered for the event. You can go to the next slide. Before I hand it over to our expert panel, I wanted to share a little bit more about what we do at RE-volv. At RE-volv, our mission is to empower community-serving nonprofits across the country to go solar in a way that saves them money, builds resilience, and creates local climate leadership. We do this by providing accessible solar financing and hands-on project support to nonprofits. We've been doing this since 2011, before direct pay was an option, and we'll continue this work even after the tax credits disappear. But today we'll be focused on how we can ensure nonprofits can still make the most of direct pay while they still can. Next slide. At RE-volv, our work is grounded in three core pillars that shape how we support nonprofits and their communities. Invest, empower, engage, and empower. We invest in nonprofits by providing access to capital and technical assistance, helping organizations go solar, add battery storage, and resilience measures. We do this through our blended finance models, which include philanthropic and investment capital, as well as direct pay. We engage communities by making every solar project a platform for public education and connection. Through ribbon cuttings, solar education events, policy listening sessions, and resiliency workshops, we create space for people to learn, ask questions, and meet local solar professionals and advocates. And we empower the next generation of clean energy leaders through our Solar Ambassador program, training college students and volunteers to spread awareness about solar and support nonprofits at the start of their solar journey. Next slide. To date, we've deployed $15 million to help over 100 nonprofits across 18 states go solar, generating $35 million in electric bill savings. And behind those numbers are real organizations serving their communities, from food banks and schools to churches and animal shelters. They now have more resources to do what they do best. And the photo here is of a solar ribbon cutting at Solomon's UCC, a church in rural Pennsylvania that went solar with RE-volv last year. Next slide. As many of you know, a key driving force behind the solar industry is the seeding effect of solar. A study from New Berkeley Lab found that for every one nonprofit, then another 80 residences in the area in the following 5 years go solar as well. Just another reminder of why direct pay and the topics we're covering today are so important. So now on to our speakers. First, I'll pass it over to Alec from SEIA to take us through the policy updates.
Great. Thank you, Cami. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. I'm Alec Ward, the Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs at SEIA. And if you're unfamiliar with SEIA, we're the Solar and Storage Association for the US. And we do projects of all size and have members from all parts of the supply chain, anything that really touches from utility scale all the way down to rooftop solar. So yeah, I'm going to talk a bit about direct pay. I'll start out there, just a very high level, and then we'll get into the one big beautiful bill, as it's been called, and some of the impacts that we'll see in the upcoming years. So next slide, please. So again, won't go into too much detail here, as I think a lot of people are pretty familiar at this point with direct pay. It was been around for a couple of years. It was passed in the Inflation Reduction Act 2022. It's also called the elective pay. So the background here is that for decades, federal tax credits like the ITC, investment tax credit, PTC, production tax credit, they were largely unavailable for tax exempt entities. So think municipal governments, nonprofits. And the reason they were unavailable, these groups they don't have a tax liability that they can apply those credits to. So what this changes is now the recipients can really get direct payment equal to the cash for these credits where they previously were unable to. So I give you an example down there of this happening. We've seen, a local government put rooftop solar on top of their building. They file their tax return, they check the box for direct pay, and there are a lot of requirements, a lot of documentation that have to be met, and I'm happy to talk more about those eventually too. IRS has good guidance out there. But then if all goes well, then they're issued at the end a direct cash payment that's equal again to that entire tax credit. Next slide, please. So who's eligible? Again, broad scope of entities here without a tax liability. So tax exempt organizations broadly, states, their subdivisions, Indian tribal governments, Tennessee Valley Authority, rural electrical co-ops, U.S. territories, their subdivisions, and agencies and instrumentalities of state, local, and tribal U.S. governments. Next slide. All right, so I'll spend most of the time on the one big beautiful bill, OBBB. Sometimes people add an A at the end for ACT. And then I'll also talk a bit about how we're still hearing more from the federal government on a lot of these policies, including a new executive order that surprised many. So starting off with the one big beautiful bill, what it impacted with direct pay, nothing directly. So it didn't have anything that directly regarded the provision that was set in the IRA, but it certainly altered the underlying tax credits that groups will be using. So specifically for the ITC, the investment tax credit, that's 48E now. That's the tech neutral. And then the PTC, production tax credit, that's 45Y, tech neutral again. There's a lot of changes there. So I'll talk about that in the next slide. Also, what's changed is the ITC. The clawback provisions that apply to the ITC will certainly apply to those using direct pay. As if they fail to comply with the new foreign entity of concern, which is called FEOC provisions. I'll talk about those a bit more. But they will be subject to a clawback. So just things that are very important to be aware of for new projects moving forward. Next slide. So 48E and 45Y, the projects now have 12 months from passage of the bill. So the timeline now is July 4th, 2026 to commence construction. This is for solar and wind, or else they're subject to placed in service requirements. And those are due, you have to be placed in service if you miss this deadline by December 31st, 2027, which will certainly be harder for larger scale projects to do. So it's a quite an important date. I will note, though, this doesn't apply to storage. Storage was untouched. The timeline is still 2033 and then stepping down afterwards, and many other technologies. But again, solar and wind got what you can call special treatment in this bill. Other provisions from this bill that didn't go through, there's no ban on third-party financing for solar in 48E. That was great. We definitely saw that in earlier versions. There's also important to note no change to the underlying bonus credits. We get asked that a lot. There was a slight fix of the domestic content credit. It's now back up to 45%, but nothing major with those. Next slide. So yeah, the hardest pill really to swallow here, and the biggest impacted industry is certainly residential solar, largely because this 25D residential solar tax credit for homeowners, it will be unavailable for expenditures made after December 31st, 2025. You might ask, what's an expenditure? It's defined under the current code for 25D. It's when an installation is complete. So that means you can't just do like stockpiling, you can't just begin construction. You really have to be have these projects installed by the end of this year to receive credit here. Next slide. All right, everyone's favorite topic, fiat, foreign entity of concern. I could easily spend the entire hour talking about this. It's endlessly complicated. There's a lot to be determined still, but it's important to know it's coming, and it may cause issues with projects. Beginning for most projects in 2026, there are some new terminologies here. A foreign influenced entity is certainly one of them, and more specified entity, foreign entity. These are terms that are defined at length in the rules. If you're one of these entities, then you'll be unable to access the tax credits for 45Y, 48E, and 45X starting in 2026. That's the entity level restriction, but there's also project level restrictions. Starting in 2026, if your project has, if it's below a threshold for a certain non-FIAC material threshold, then it won't qualify for credit. On the next slide, I'll talk a bit about this and kind of show you what that looks like. So you can jump to that next one. You can see here what the thresholds are for each project under each credit in the table. The threshold goes up over time. Treasury needs to come out with more guidance around this, what the ratios, how you'll meet them with certification. What level of the components they go to and subcomponents. But in the meantime, projects can use existing domestic content safe harbor tables, or they can use a certification methodology that was laid out in statute, though there needs to be a lot more fleshed out on that one too. Next slide, please. All right, last one here on my end. HR 1, One Big Beautiful Bill, was not really the end of it. Days after passage, we saw this executive order released that directed actions from Treasury and from Department of Interior. This was in response to the Freedom Caucus. There are members that still weren't happy with how the bill ended up. They wanted to make it even harder on wind and solar. We've certainly seen that thematically from the agencies, basically all of them that touch anything solar and wind the past couple weeks. This is certainly one of them. One of the main actions is within 45 days, that's August 18th, Treasury has to file a report to do all of the bulleted things I talk about right there. Strictly enforcing the termination of these credits, preventing any sort of circumvention or misuse of beginning of construction concept, and implementing as quickly as possible the foreign entity of concern restrictions. Looking at the Department of Interior pieces, we've already seen a lot of impacts there. DOI memos and secretarial orders have been coming out saying that they're going to look very closely at what projects they're permitting, both on public lands, and it could even have impacts on private projects. Treasury is contemplating what begin construction might mean. Currently, there's two different things. There's a fiscal work test of significant nature that you can cross threshold to begin construction, or you can incur 5% of total project costs. After that, there's a continuity safe harbor after you begin construction for 4 years. What's happening now is developers are moving very fast. They're trying to get access to these credits before they expire, or before more restrictive rules might come in place. But this really throws a wrench in it because it makes it quite unclear where's the starting line. Begin construction is the concept for FIAC and for getting these tax credits. That's the starting line. A lot of uncertainty. People are waiting for the 18th. Definitely recommend everyone on the call right now reach out to your representatives, especially any Republican members, to just talk to them about how important these tax credits are, how detrimental, really, messing with these begin constructions are super important for project certainty. And yeah, we need to let them know that this could really have big impacts on communities and projects moving forward. So yeah, I covered a lot right there. So I'll slowly let you all get to other topics, but I'll hang around if there are any other questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Alec. Yes, for those of you that have questions for Alec or any other speakers, please put it in the Q&A box of the chat and flag who you'd like to answer the question. But Alec, thank you for taking us through all of those nuances and for flagging how all of us can be engaged to support the advocacy efforts that SEIA is leading. Sean, let's pass it off to you to dive into the residential impacts.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Alec and Cami. Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Malone. I'm the Distributed Power Plant Technical Analyst at Solar United Neighbors, also known as SUN. We're a national nonprofit that helps people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. We support both individual homeowners and broader community campaigns through programs like co-ops, proposal reviews, and policy advocacy. Um, Today, I'll walk through what's happening with the residential solar tax credit, what alternatives exist after those incentives end, and ways homeowners can still save money and support a clean local energy system. So I'll really briefly cover the changes because Alec kind of mentioned a lot of them, and I'll kind of jump more into solutions from there. Next slide, please. Next slide again, sorry. So let's get into it. So for residential, which will be along the left side of your screen, I'll go over that first. Under the One Big Beautiful Bill, which became law on July 4th, 2025, the Section 25D residential clean energy credit is being terminated as of December 31st, 2025. That means homeowners must have systems, solar panels, batteries, or both installed and energized before that date to claim the full 30% federal tax credit. There's no phase down. It's a full cutoff, contrasting sharply with the previous tax timelines. Originally, under the Inflation Reduction Act, the 25D credit was slated to continue at 30% through 2032 and gradually phasing down in 2033 and 2034. That longer horizon allowed homeowners more flexibility in timing, but the budget bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill, abruptly overturned that, exposing many projects to new risk and creating intense demand as people rush to install before the year's end. The policy change will affect everything from a rooftop system to retrofit batteries. Even if a homeowner installs the system in 2025, but only adds storage in 2026, the battery will still not qualify under Section 25D with these new changes. So given the industry reports of supply constraints and permitting delays, the risk of missing the deadline is real. Many homeowners who thought they had several years to act are now working with contractors and regulators to lock projects in before the statutory cutoff. For those who still want full ownership of their battery or storage system or solar system, and the 30% credit, there's no flexibility. Systems must be complete before the year's end. Now getting into commercial along the right side of the screen, which is Section 45E. Fortunately, the commercial investment tax credit, Section 48E, briefly survives under the budget bill. Projects beginning construction by July 4th, 2026 remain eligible for the full 30% credit plus bonus adders for domestic content, prevailing wage, and energy communities, as Alec mentioned. Projects started later, meaning after July 4th, 2026, must be placed in service by December 31st of 2027 to receive any credit. The structure aligns timelines without dismantling all incentives. Projects that begin construction in 2025 may be as finished as late as 2029, presumably under the IRS safe harbor rules, though we do have to see what happens with the executive order. Given continuous progress, but after mid-2026, developers lose that flexibility. The safe harbor window offers a path forward, but also demands faster timelines and clear documentation. As Alec mentioned as well, standalone battery storage is not subjected to this accelerated phase out. Section 48E continues to encompass energy storage systems, even those unpaired with solar, for the original phase out schedule, which stretches through 2033 or 2034 before the benefits begin tapering. And then also briefly, there is restrictions on foreign entities of concern that may potentially disqualify projects, but Alec covered that as well, so I will move on to the next slide, please. So what options do we have to keep solar affordable for homeowners? Next slide, please. PPA and leasing options. Power purchase agreements, which are PPAs, and solar leases are two common third-party ownership models that allow homeowners to go solar without owning the equipment. These systems are eligible for the commercial tax credit under Section 48E, which remains available through 2026. The company that owns the system gets the tax credit and passes the savings to the homeowner through reduced monthly payments. In a PPA, the homeowner pays for the electricity generated by the system at a set price, often lower than utility rates. In a lease, the homeowner pays a fixed monthly fee to use the system. In both cases, the solar company owns and maintains the system, simplifying the process for the homeowner. There are trade-offs. You don't own the system, so you don't build equity in it or receive the tax credit yourself. But for many homeowners, especially those who can't afford the upfront cost of solar or who don't have the tax liability to benefit from a credit, third-party ownership can be a very cost-effective way to go solar, especially after the residential tax credit ends in 2025. This model becomes especially attractive in states with time of use rates or net metering limitations, like California under net metering 3.0, where maximizing energy savings through smart dispatch and storage is more valuable than just ownership. If structured well, PPAs and leases can offer immediate savings and minimal hassle. And again, this is an option through 2026 if, as a homeowner, you don't get solar in time in 2025. Next slide, please. Another way to go solar affordably after the tax credit ends is through the Switch Together campaign, a collaboration between iChooser and Solar United Neighbors. This program runs in cities across the US and helps residents access solar through group purchasing. It's a great alternative for people who don't want to shop around and negotiate with installers. And through one of these campaigns, you can save 15 to 25% compared to going solar alone. Next slide, please. Similarly, solar co-ops, which many of us are familiar with, leverage group bulk purchasing power to help homeowners save money on solar. Here's how there's once proposals are in, the co-op members themselves choose the installer through a committee-led selection process, and this gives residents both bargaining power and local control. Selected installers offer discounted pricing, and every co-op member gets a personalized proposal based on their roof and energy needs. Next slide, please. Last thing I'll briefly mention, as I'm short on time here, distributed power plants, which are becoming more prevalent around the country, offer a great way for homeowners to generate income from their battery. Essentially, you connect your battery into a distributed power plant and you are compensated for the battery power that you put into the grid. As an example, homeowners in the Northeast are generating income of up to $1,500 a year by participating in the Connected Solutions program there. So it is worth exploring a distributed power plant if there is one in your area. Thank you.
Great.
Go ahead, Cami.
Oh, no, go on. This is important.
Oh, okay. Well, just going briefly over everything that I just mentioned there. These are our calls to action. So we have number one, get your residential solar project launched as soon as possible if you intend to own your system. Number two, if you missed a residential tax credit, you can take advantage of commercial and PPA leasing options. Number three, join a solar co-op or an iChooser Switch Together campaign to make solar more affordable by leveraging group bulk purchasing power. Number four, take advantage of Sun's Solar Help Desk, look up co-ops in your area, or join a Switch Together campaign. We have resources to help homeowners who have questions about solar or want to review on proposals or contracts. And number five, see if there's a distributed power plant in your area and consider joining one to generate income from your solar plus storage system.
Great. Thank you so much, Sean, for providing ways that homeowners can still go solar. Really appreciate that inspiration. And we'll shift it to more of a nonprofit perspective with Anna from the Clean Energy Group, and she actually was a RE-volv Solar ambassador. So we're excited to hear from her today as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cami, and so happy to be invited back and speak at one of your webinars, now on the flip side of things. Next slide, please. As Cami said, I'll be focusing on nonprofits and how solar plus storage can create resilient, thriving communities. As you've heard Sean and Alec mention, we've been talking about residential systems. I'll be focusing on commercial systems. Nonprofits fall into that bucket of 48E when it comes to the investment tax credit. Next slide, please. I work for the nonprofit Clean Energy Group. We are a nationwide organization whose mission is to ensure that folks have access to affordable, reliable, clean energy. Next slide, please. And within our organization, my focus is on the Technical Assistance Fund. That's where we provide early stage project development support to communities interested in solar and energy storage. These communities can be community centers, houses of worship, food banks, health centers, multifamily affordable housing providers. The list goes on. Folks who are interested in bringing renewable energy, resilient power to their communities and want to learn more about how they can make it happen. Next slide, please. The Technical Assistance Fund has been around for 10 years now, over 10 years now. We've been able to support over 200 communities, and over 100 facilities have been able to install either solar or solar plus storage in that time, with dozens more projects still in development. Next slide, we have a map highlighting a couple of the projects that have been able to get installed. Next slide, please. And I invite folks to go to our website. We have an interactive map. You can highlight different areas of the country, find more projects, but just a couple to highlight here. Out in Boulder, Colorado, a transportation center that's able to continue running their buses, and they specifically serve senior housing residents with their buses during the event of an outage. Over on the Northeast, 2 multifamily affordable housing providers installed solar plus storage, and a lot of work down in Puerto Rico, various health clinics, community centers, hurricane relief shelters, etc. Next slide, please. So one of our focus areas is on how we compare solar with energy storage together to be able to provide a resilient backup power source during the event of an outage. If a community center has solar plus storage, community members can then go and shelter there in the event of an outage, go plug in their phones and recharge them. If folks have electricity dependent medical equipment like CPAP machines, oxygen concentrators, mobility devices that need charged, they can go recharge those. Refrigeration to make sure both food and temperature regulated medicine don't spoil. And then of course, heating and cooling so that folks can shelter from extreme temperatures outside. I have an example on the right, a Virginia Resilience Hub that installed solar plus storage and now have backup power for up to 3 days in the event of an outage. And on top of that, they also have frequent $0 monthly electric bills. So they're able to reinvest those savings into community programming. Next slide, please. Another one of our focus areas is community solar, and just a high-level overview for folks who aren't aware. Community solar is where you have a large solar array and then multiple subscribers, such as single-family residences, businesses, and nonprofits can then subscribe to the system and receive a portion of the energy generated expressed through a utility bill saving, a saving on your utility bill. And that can be especially beneficial for folks who are renters, not legally allowed to install solar, folks who don't have roofs or need roof repairs before they can install solar, and folks who can't afford the upfront cost of solar. So through the Technical Assistance Fund, we help folks who want to actually host a community solar array and be able to provide these benefits for folks who otherwise can't access solar right now. Next slide, please. I have an example here of a multifamily affordable housing provider who installed solar on their rooftop and are able to provide community solar subscriptions to 100 of their low-income residents, resulting in an average of $40 monthly utility bill savings for those residents. They also paired that community solar array with storage so that they can have resilient backup power in community spaces. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to round it out with a couple more pictures of projects that we supported over the years, folks who have been able to install solar plus storage, and just, expressing the message that now is the time to act, just as Sean Sean and Alec had expressed, there's deadlines coming up, there's different changes to the ITC. But for folks who want to install solar plus storage, absolutely, please reach out to us at Clean Energy Group, RE-volv as well, other partners out there, mission aligned, trusted folks that you can reach out to, and we can help you navigate this process and get your project jump started. I know I mentioned energy storage. We at Clean Energy Group like to pair those two together and develop projects in tandem. But I will plug, especially as some of these deadlines, especially for solar, are coming up at the end of the year and then next year. That maybe you want to start with solar, but express to whoever you're working with that maybe you're interested in battery storage. You can say you want your solar project to be battery ready, and then whoever you're working with can make sure the inverters and technology is lined up. So if down the road you want to pursue battery storage, which has a longer sunset date than solar, you can absolutely do that. So next slide is just my email address. Feel free to reach out to me, and we can talk more about your project. Also, feel free to visit our website and learn more about what support we can provide. Thanks all. I'll pass it over to Cami again.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anna. Great to see those photos of beautiful solar on those nonprofits, and thank you for offering your support to all of those on the line. We've been seeing great questions come in through the Q&A chat. Please continue to use that. Our presenters will try to answer as they can within the chat, and we also have time reserved at the end to discuss it. So now I'll hand it off to Marques from RE-volv to talk through solar financing.
Thank you, Cami. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. It's a pleasure to see everybody. My name is Marques Mason. I'm the Solar Account Manager here at RE-volv. Next slide, please. So with all the speakers that have spoken today, I'm pretty sure everybody understands there's a lot of urgency happening with this. It is a hectic time. So us at RE-volv, we wanted to make the process simple if you choose to go solar. So if you're a nonprofit listening, or you're an installer who knows of other nonprofits that wish to go solar or storage, this is the process that we have at RE-volv, and this is some of the products that we have to help solar or nonprofits go solar. So I'm gonna let you know about the process of what it takes to go solar with us. So if you wanted to reach out to us, you would reach out to me, or you would reach out to go solar at RE-volv, and these are some of the things that we would need to begin the process of going solar. One of them is we have a form that we would send you. The form you would fill out, it talks about your nonprofit, it talks about how you help the community, talks about all the things, the great things that your nonprofit does. It just gives us background on your nonprofit and who you are. Another thing that we definitely would need, and this would help us determine if we can approve you for financing or approve you for funding to go solar with us, we would need 3 years of financials. So this would include profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and or bank statements as well. And once we have that, we can determine if you can go solar, or we'll fund the project. And to begin the process, we would need 12 months of your past utility bills. We need these bills so we can determine your usage, so we can determine how big of a system you need to place on top of your roof. So you send those bills to us, we put those together, add them up, we send this out to a install partner, and we have install partners in many different states across the nation because we operate in all of the states. So we have partners, and what we'll do is we'll send them your usage, and they'll send us a cash bid back on your solar system. Now, if you already have a local installer that you're working with, you could definitely present them to us. We have a vetting process that we go through with installers, so we could vet them and we can use your local installer that you've chosen. If you do not have an installer already, no worries, we can handle that for you. We have many partners across the nation that we can get cash bids for you. When it comes to the timeline of doing all this, so of course we have urgency with the big, beautiful bill being passed, so there's a lot of urgency. When it comes to going solar with this, it's going to be like a 4 to 6 month process. And this is from contract signing all the way to PTO, which is permission to operate. So just, think about that timeline. You have 4 to 6 months from signing contracts from your solar being installed, inspected, and turned on by the local utility. Now, one of the benefits of working with RE-volv is how easy we make funding available. And we have no down payment option. So this means you do not have to come up with any money to go solar. Now, if you want to have a down payment, or if you do a capital raise and you have some funds to put towards the system, then that's okay, and you can do that as well. But if you don't, no worries, we can still fund you and finance your project. So no down payment is needed. We have no prepay payment penalty, which is super duper important, because just like us being a nonprofit, we understand other nonprofits and what you're going through. Sometimes you get grants later on in the years, you do fundraisers, you do capital raises, you get donations throughout the years, and you want to be able to use this money to buy down your financing to make it cheaper for you over the long haul, and you can do this. So we do not have any prepayment penalties on any of our financing. No collateral is needed. We file what's called a UCC, and this is a Uniform Commercial Code just on the equipment itself, and we do not place any liens onto the buildings. Okay, now for the slide that we're at currently right here, these are just some of our financing options, and it's similar to what Sean was mentioning with the residential. We wanted the process for nonprofits to be just as familiar and just as easy as it is on the residential side when it comes to financing products. So we have the loan, we have the lease, and we have the power purchase agreement as well. Like Sean was mentioning, for residential, the loan is when the nonprofit owns the solar equipment and they receive any of the federal incentives, any state incentives or rebates, or any rebates that come from the utility. You receive this directly. When it comes to filing for direct pay, this is one of the benefits of working with RE-volv. We will support and help you file your direct pay. And I want to say, I don't want to say we are the experts in this, but we are definitely experienced when it comes to filing for direct pay. We were one of the first nonprofits in the nation to receive a check from the federal government. So we know how to do this process, so much so that they invited us to the White House to talk about this process and what we did to receive these checks. So we know how to do this. We help you. We support you. We do not do it for you, right? You have to do it, but we're like over your shoulder telling you exactly what to do, exactly how to dot the I and cross the T and everything to make sure you get as much money as possible and as fast as possible as well. So that's our loan product. We have a 20-year and a 7-year option when it comes to loans. Sometimes we can work and do different type of terms, but those are our go-to, our 20-year and our 7-year. When it comes to the lease and the power purchase agreement, the PPA, these are third-party owned, similar to residential, as Sean was speaking. RE-volv owns this solar equipment, and we claim any direct pay, any rebate, or anything like that, but we pass some of those savings through to the nonprofit. So even though we filed for it, we collect it, we will pass some of those savings to the nonprofit when it comes to the lease and the power purchase agreement. Now, keep in mind, there's two different things when as far as maintenance when it comes to the loan and the lease and the PPA. With the loan, you are responsible, the nonprofit is responsible for taking care of their system. It's pretty simple to do based on your warranties and what have you, but it is your responsibility. Of course, if you have any questions or anything, we can definitely help you, but it is the nonprofit's responsibility. When it comes to the lease and the power purchase agreement, RE-volv is the owner, so RE-volv will take care of the operations and maintenance on those systems. And another cool thing about the lease and the PPA with RE-volv is at the end of the term, which is 20 years, we donate the system to the nonprofit at little to no cost at the end of this term. It's very powerful. Most leases and power purchase agreements, they don't donate the system to you at no cost, but we do. And even after a 20-year term, there's still going to be life left in your system. I mean, the lifespan of the panels is 25 years. Most microinverters is 25 years. And then most systems can last 30, 35 years. So you'll still have a nice system that's very efficient at the end of the term that you eventually do own with the lease in the power purchase agreement. Next slide, please. And yeah, so just highlighting one of the projects we did, like I said, we're nationwide, so we can help a nonprofit in any state out there. Just reach out to us and we'll get it going for you. This is one of our beautiful projects, the Lifeline Animal Project, which happens to be the biggest animal shelter in the Georgia area. We were able to help them. I think they did a PPA, if I'm not mistaken. 1.6 million in savings, a 201 kilowatt size system, and a beautiful puppy that's up for adoption as well right there in the corner. And you can see the beautiful solar panels, the layout that's on there. So that's one of the projects. And this project, next slide, please. This project actually came to us through one of our ambassadors, just like Anna used to be an ambassador with RE-volv. This came from our Georgia Tech team, or Georgia Tech ambassador team, I should say. And we partner with hundreds of different ambassadors, students across many different universities and colleges across the nation. This is one of their projects. And another thing we do that I want to highlight is we do big ribbon cutting events for the nonprofits that we help out. And we usually try to, invite elected officials. We try to do a press release, social media release. We try to make a big deal and show the impact of the nonprofit going solar that this has on the community. I mean, just imagine some of these big churches and big nonprofit buildings. When they go solar, the whole community sees it. And we want to share it with the whole community so they can know that if they did it, you can do it as well. This Animal Lifeline project made it to the news. Another church that we did in Compton made it on the news. The mayor actually spoke at that one. So these are just some of the type of projects we do and some of the how we showcase these projects to the community and to the world. So next slide. Awesome. Okay, so the timeline. So so we're looking, like we're talking about, everything's urgent. We want to move fast. If you've been thinking about going solar, this is probably the best time to do it. I mean, honestly, this is the cheapest solar is going to be with these tax incentives. Once they leave, solar's still doable, but it's going to be a little bit more expensive because we don't have as many incentives helping us pay for the cost. So with RE-volv, if you're looking to go solar and you're reaching out to us at RE-volv, we have a timeline that we want to set up and help move you through the process so we can get your project into the queue, which is very important because a lot of the installers across the nation, whether that's residential or whether that's commercial, their capacity is going to be limited as the months move forward because there's going to be so many people trying to go solar that installers can't take everybody, right? So you want to make sure that your project, that your nonprofit gets in this queue so we can stay part of your project. And this is our timeline that we have at RE-volv. So if you're looking to go solar, by August 12th, we need to at least have your electricity bill. So this is your 12 months of past usage. We need to have a RE-volv so we can start compiling this usage and sending it out to installers to get bids back. From the 14th to the 29th, this is when we're going to be sending it out. This is when we're going to be getting the bids back and running it through our financing calculator. Once they're ready, we'll send the proposal, the financing summary to you to schedule a Zoom so we can go over what the numbers look like to see if you like them. Now, from after the 29th, up until September 15th, we're going to be presenting these proposals, letting you know the numbers, going through the questions, and getting to a point where everybody's happy. And we need to sign the solar agreements by September 15th. Now, this is not a guarantee, right? But this is a nice timeline where we've spoken to our installers and they're letting us know that if we can get things signed by this day, we have a great chance to safe harbor your project in 2025. When it comes to signing, most of the time you'll be signing 2 agreements, one with the installer and then one with RE-volv. So after that, that's when the project begins and we start moving forward and getting your nonprofit installed. So that's pretty much my time. I want to say thank you. You can scan our QR code if you want to learn more. You can go to the website revolve.org/nonprofit, or you can email us if you're ready to go. If you have your usage together, you're ready to go, you already want to move forward, go ahead and email us at gosolar@revolve.org, and we'll jump on it and reach back out to you and get your project started. Other than that, thank you very much. I'm going to pass it back to Cami and talk to you guys later.
Great. Thank you so much, Marques, and looking forward to hearing from those of you on the line interested in going solar. Now I'll hand it off to Travis, the Vice President of WestCare Wisconsin, to talk more about his experience going solar with RE-volv.
Good afternoon to some, good morning to some others. I've always been excited about my experience with solar energy. I started this process with solar. First of all, my name is Travis Landry. I'm the Regional Vice President for WestCare Wisconsin. WestCare is a national nonprofit organization. We're in 17 states, 2 countries, and 2 trust territories. I was introduced to solar energy, I want to say back in 2000. We have solar panels on our facility in Dayton, Ohio, East End location. And we were looking to increase some more solar panels on that facility. So I got really involved with RE-volv and increasing the solar panels on that facility. And I've been working with RE-volv ever since. It's been so refreshing. When I call them, they answer the phone. When I email them, they respond to my emails. When something's wrong with my system, they respond to whatever's wrong with my system and say, hey, something's wrong with your system. So I want to give them a shout out for the best customer service that I've ever experienced because, you know, COVID done made us not want to react to no one. We got to do all this other type of communicating, but RE-volv has always been there with a person to talk to me. So in 2023, I put an older woman gave me a building in Milwaukee for a nonprofit to help reduce violence in the community. And I thought how great it would be to put solar panels and really make a mark in decarbonization in the city of Milwaukee with this building she gave me. So I had the entire RE-volv team make sure that anyone I come in contact that wanted to understand solar energy got to work on this building, from the electrician, from the solar panel installer, from the person who putting the tools in the truck, from the person who carrying the solar panels out of the truck. So I got everybody involved in 2023. To me, RE-volv is a no-brainer. You know, this is like, you know, solar, this is I'm one step away from completely decarbonization in the entire building. So I have electric water heater, I have LED lights on the inside and outside, I have electric, I have solar panels on the roof, and then I have, the last thing to do is put a heat pump on my furnace. 2023, we started this. My lease payment for my material, for my equipment is $117 a month. I'm battery ready. At the time I installed solar panels, they quite wasn't there yet with batteries, but I'm battery ready. So right now we give our energy, we sell our energy back to, we have We Energies here, Wisconsin Electric. So we sell our energy back, and my energy bill is, my electric bill is probably average between $12 to $20 a month. I am going to start receiving a reduction in the net zero in my electric bill probably next year or the year after. But I love the fact that I'm connected to the internet as well, and in my building I have 3 screens. So whenever someone walk in my building, they get to see the solar energy displayed on one of their computer monitors, and they got to ask the question, what is this? When they asked that, I could get them involved into understanding solar energy, or get them involved into installing solar energy, or get them involved into the electric work of solar energy, or get them involved in the LED lighting or anything that have to do with decarbonization of a commercial building. And I started doing that with some other faith-based initiatives that we have going on in Milwaukee. And I use my building as an example for them to get to understand the intricate steps of putting solar on your roof. So I have 30 solar panels on my roof. They call me sometimes and say, you got a tree blocking a shade. Can we come assist with trimming a tree down? Or can we help with trimming a tree? Or, things like that. So I end up sending somebody out there to trim the tree. They call me back or email me and say, now your production on this side of the solar panels is working great. Solar panels get production all seasons, all year round. Don't have to worry about the snow sitting on top of the solar panels. Don't have to worry about a lot of things because RE-volv really is supportive with making sure that this system that I have works. So I have some solar panels on my garage roof, and then I have the other 24 on top of my roof on the building. So I've always been excited about RE-volv. I always try to participate whenever I can to make sure if any nonprofit wants to understand the system of solar and how it works, I'm here. I could give you step by step. I can work with you to help you work with RE-volv. Again, I only pay $117 a month, but it's well worth it. I don't have to worry about an electric bill coming unless it's $16, $20, somewhere around there. But for the most part, I want to get ready to be able to shut the grid off one day in Milwaukee and power up, because I'm in a low income community, power up the block from the transformer with the energy that I can save in a battery. So that's my next phase of my solar, is to do battery storage, but I'm right there. I'm battery ready. Once I get the batteries or figure out a system for the batteries that makes sense, I will store energy in a battery and be able to turn the grid off to power up a low-income community. And I know the neighborhood will be thankful for what we've been doing with the solar power. That's all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Travis, for sharing your story. And I'm excited to be partnering with you, hopefully, on battery next steps as well. Thank you to all of our panelists for all of your insights today. The chat has been live with many questions. I think we'll start off with some of the policy-specific questions. So, Alec, let's start with you and the executive order on the commence construction information. Are you anticipating any potential risk of Treasury announcing a delay of when they will give that guidance, or can we count on August 18th, or any other tips around thinking about startup construction?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's one everyone's kind of contemplating right now. We certainly think Treasury is going to try to hit the 18th, maybe a day or two after. They're getting pressured heavily from the White House on this one. So I think we'll see something. The question is, what will that be? I think no matter what it is, it'll be the beginning of a process. I think that it could certainly open up a more formal notice and comment period. In fact, what they come out with initially might even have some form of comment opportunity. But yeah, something's geared more towards APA standards in the Federal Register. But that would certainly take much longer. And yeah, like what's the risk here? I really don't want to speculate too much. I think it's always easy to, doomsday think and scroll these days. Certainly what we're keeping our closest eye on is if there's anything retroactive, if there's anything that they could potentially do saying, hey, if you took any of these actions after bill enactment, we would find that incredibly problematic and harmful. So we're keeping a close eye there. We're really messaging that everything's got to be forward-looking. Everything's got to have, a grace period, a glide path, because the industry's already very shocked, and this could, do even more damage, something with an immediate or retroactive kick in.
Thank you for highlighting all of that, Alec. Continuing on the bill impacts, Sean, can you clarify a little bit more or remind the group on what needs to be done by December 31st for residential solar customers to ensure that they still access the tax credits? You mentioned that the projects need to be energized, but is PTO required, or could the installation be complete and PTO applied for? So if you can share a little more on that.
Absolutely, thank you. There are kind of some varying sources and answers to this question, but it seems generally that PTO is not required in order to claim the tax credit, although the guidelines are not very clearly laid out. What is important is that the project is completed and it is capable of powering a home or a battery. The best thing you can do is try to move as soon as possible and do try to get permission to operate by that December 31st deadline because, it still is a little unclear, the guidelines, but it's more likely than not that it is not required.
Thanks, Sean. That's helpful. Alec, back over to you. Can you clarify on the timing of the foreign entity of concern restrictions? So some of the wording says that it begins in taxable years after the enactment. So if a nonprofit has a fiscal year of July to June versus January to December, does that impact things, or do we really just need to be thinking about that December 31st date?
Yeah, it's quite confusing as everything in FIAC is. We certainly recommend groups to speak with tax counsels. This is very high stakes, but for the specified foreign entity and for the foreign influence entity rules, that's the entity level rules, and not for the material assistance rules. Those kick in no matter what 2026 onward material assistance. But for the prohibited foreign entity rules, if your tax year began after the bill was enacted, then those entity level rules should apply. But again, yeah, definitely good to speak with counsel on this one.
Okay, great. And I know you already highlighted that there's still more guidance to come on the foreign entity of concern rules, but any guidance on how customers should work with installers and validate that those installers do have a supply chain that's compliant?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no easy list. I think it'll certainly take a while. They're trying to do that for BABA right now, which is a whole different, domestic but similar content rule. But until new guidance is released by Treasury, which is expected by the end of next year, you can use either those domestic content rules that's Notice 2025-08, or the most recent safe harbor tables and the associated certification processes that go with that, or you can use the certification process that's laid out in the statute. And it's very vague, and they have to fill out, really what it means, but it's getting the direct supplier to say that either they don't know of any prohibited foreign entity in their supply chain, or that they can have the total direct cost attributed to all the manufacturing from any sort of prohibited foreign entity. But again, what that certification actually looks like is to be determined by Treasury.
Okay, thank you. So more to come on that as well. Anna, can you remind the group on how they can tap into resources like the Technical Assistance Fund to help build resilience in their own communities?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to our website, resilient-power.org, or cleanenergygroup.org. A lot of different ways to reach out. My email address, just reach out. And as other folks have been saying, it's better to get started, have that first conversation with us or RE-volv right away so that we can get started on projects and envisioning what it looks like.
Great, thanks. And Travis, can you talk a little bit about the community impact and how people in the community have changed their outlook on sustainability or energy resilience by seeing what you've done at WestCare?
Yes, they become more involved. They get to see it for themselves, and now they get to understand. Sometimes I'm coming to the building and the disconnect button is right at eye level. Sometimes they turn the disconnect off, and that's when I'll get a call from RE-volv to say something's not powering up. Can you check? And then I'll turn the disconnect back on. But the residents understand because I explain it to them, and they see it when they walk into the building on the computer screens, how much energy our solar panels are actually producing. So once you see this, you have to ask questions. You don't have because something foreign to you, you just gotta ask questions and try to get involved. And it's amazing how many people just come back and say, well, I wanted to be an electrician. Well, that's part of being involved in solar energy, because you gotta be an electrician to wire it up.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you for everyone on the line for your engagement and great questions. Thank you to all of our panelists for all of the information you shared. I know we didn't get to all of the questions, but we'll be sure to send out a recording. I know some people were looking for written guidance on the legislation and RE-volv's financing options, so we'll be sure to reach out on those, but always reach out to any of us that were on this webinar, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you.